Here. All right, so I'm gonna again try to use, I'm gonna start trying to use my developer thing, but if we need to do a little bit of examples on the car, I can do that, but I want you guys to be creative and come up with your own. Go away, Zoom. I'm already in the Zoom. All right, so we have the first entity we had was the developer entity. In our system, we have one entity, developer. The most common next item I'm going to have in a social media app is going to be posts. Users can post, developers can make a post on the social media app, just talking about something, kind of like Twitter, almost making like a Twitter type thing. And this is going to be the concept of a developer. How many posts can a developer put on the website, would you say?
Many.
Many.
Yeah, many, right? You know, it's going to be in our line here, we have this right here, many. Now, is a developer required to make a post in order to use the site?
No.
No, and that's where there is this technical and added item, this optional, we can put there. So I don't care much about that. We can at least clarify that a developer doesn't have to have something, that it can be blank. This is kind of also the idea of somebody on TikTok who literally just consumes, or someone on Twitter who just reads tweets. Or somebody on Pinterest that just looks at other pins, all those types of things. Anywhere where you just
my life.
observe. What's that, Eridan?
Story of my life on social media.
Lurker.
That's me on TikTok. I'm a lurker. I don't feel confident making anything. Could I probably make TikTok? But
My
Bitcoin
Reddit's
or-
like 7 years old, and I just started to post stuff like 1 month ago.
There you go. So now on a post, how many developers are on a post? Or how many developers can a post have?
One.
Right, the person who built it, who posted, right? The one person, the author. And I usually use this concept. And this one, we're going to use this one because this is a required item. You can't have a post unless there's a developer, right?
Right.
And that's where the mandatory system is. Post must have a developer connected to it. It cannot exist without having a developer to refer back to. So that's what this concept is. One-to-one. This is a one-to-many. Optional on this side, mandatory on this side. That's what we're looking at. And so that's one relationship we have, a one-to-many relationship. This is a very common relationship, this one-to-many system on a lot of applications, because you usually have users that do a lot of things on your site. So your users or your people who interact on your site usually have many interactions that they do. So one-to-many is one of the most common types of interactions you'll have, or types of relationships you'll have. The next one I like to have is the many-to-many type of relationship. That is also a very common one. And what was the example we had on that? Oh, I'm trying to blank right on my head. I posted this and I knew I should take a screenshot of it. I forget that Zoom doesn't save it. What are some of the other things you can have on a social media site? Posts.
Likes.
You did say likes, but I didn't. That's a more complicated one.
Oh, we had a
Hold on.
profile pic.
That was
Oh,
the
yeah.
picture, right? Picture. But this one wasn't the one I was looking for. But yeah, we did have picture.
That's a one-to-one, right?
Ooh, nice. Yeah, you count that out. A one-to-one, right? How many pictures can you upload for yourself on Twitter, for example?
One.
One, right? You only can have one picture for your profile on Twitter. Even Facebook, while you can have multiple photos, you only have one selected as your profile pic, right? And so that is your one-to-one. Now, does the developer have to have a picture?
No.
No, so that's again an optional. You can do this. But a picture.
So
has
we
to have
didn't
a
talk
developer,
about
right?
optional last time, right? This new.
We didn't know. I'm gonna add this now because this is a secondary, so I want to make sure I'm adding a little more knowledge this second time through instead of
Okay.
just rehashing what I did Thursday. So I'm giving you guys a little more information as well. The developer, does the picture have to have a developer?
Yes.
Yes, and that's your one-to-one mandatory. That's your one directional mandatory, so required. So those are your other ones. So we have a one-to-one here. Where a developer can have a picture, but only one. And a picture, though, must be connected to a developer. If it's not connected, we should delete that record. So far, so good?
Yeah.
Good. One second, I'm pulling up my notes from Thursday. So I can remember what I did. I wasn't expecting to review this again. That is my stuff.
Is it languages?
I think that was another. Oh yeah, we could. That was what it was, right?
Yeah.
Languages, yes. So right now we have our developers can just give us an array of languages, but we're not validating their spelling technically. We're not confirming their formatting. Some places will do, you could technically write JavaScript as one word with J being capitalized and all the rest. With some people write it with JavaScript JNS being capitalized. Some people write it as JS. They never actually say JavaScript. They'll actually just say JS. And so this could be a bit of a problem with our system. We're trying to find all JavaScript developers, right? Same with Spring Boot. If we're relying on the human to enter that they're a Spring Boot developer, well, the problem is while there is the canonical way of spelling Spring Boot, people can just make mistakes. They can type Spring Boot with a capital S, that's it. They could do Spring Boot, capital S, capital B. They could do Spring Boot as 2 words. So that's one of those things we have to be careful of, and not to mention, again, just misspell. So what we could do is create a languages entity.
Mm.
This way we can pull all of the languages, put them in a drop-down menu on the form, on the page, and then they can just select each language they want to add to their page from the drop-down menu. As they click it, it adds it to a list. They click again, they'll add another one. They can then click the X to remove it from their selections. So you can add a bunch of them. So how many, so again, let's create our little arrow here, a little line. For developer to languages, how many languages can a developer have?
Many.
Many. Are they required to have languages on their profile or select languages?
No.
No, so that's not optional. Now, does a language have, how many languages can a developer have? Or how many languages can develop, how many developers can a language have?
1.
Really?
Many.
Oh, many.
Yeah. A bunch of
There's-
developers can
yeah.
code the same language, right?
Yeah.
So they're
I was
most developers
thinking-
using that same language.
No, I was
Yeah.
thinking, like picking, like, JavaScript like more than once. That was.
Not quite, yeah, no, definitely can't do that, but that's the idea though. But again, we can have multiple developers using JavaScript.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
this is many. Now, does any developer have to use a certain language?
No.
So also optional. So yeah, those 2 optional ones again, because you're not binding a language directly to a developer. Most many-to-manys are considered optional both directions. What you can do, of course, is only add a language to the system when it's brought in by a developer. So we could make it mandatory by saying that a language can only exist if at least one developer brings it in, and we could have the originator be marked and be listed as well. And so a language would then be turned, then this would be turned into the mandatory menu if we wanted to. We're not going to do that, of course. We're going to add the languages ourselves because creating the logic that allow us to allow a developer to add a language. Again, they could try to sell as Spring Boot, type it the wrong way, think it doesn't exist, and then try to add their version of Spring Boot, and that's a problem. So you got that. This is the many-to-many. And the one more I wanted to do here was the many-to-one, and this is just, again, since I wanted to have something that has a one-to-many also have the many-to-one. So I wanted the developer to also have a many-to-one version of it. And anyone remember what we did for that? I think we did, I know, is there somewhere?
We do like company.
That was it.
Oh, it wasn't.
Title. We did title.
Wasn't that
That was
the
the title.
developer-
Oh, yes.
Title.
Title, what their position was. So
Hmm.
title. And this one, yes, we have titles. So how many titles can a developer have? Or their
One.
main title, right? Yeah, 1. Again, do they have to have a title in our system?
No,
No.
We can say no. We could of course make it required where a developer must have one. So we could do that if we wanted to, but no, we also don't have to either.
could be unemployed.
Exactly, and that's how we can make it required. That they have to select an employee if they don't have a title. So that would be the one thing we do to suddenly turn this from a optional one to a mandatory by putting unemployed and having them, they have to select a title there. So that's how we could do that if we wanted to. I'll go ahead and do this because we have one of these already. So how many developers can a title have? How many developers can work that same position?
Many.
So do that. Now this one again, does there have to be a developer working a title for that title to exist?
What's the question again?
No.
Does a developer have to work that title for that title to exist in our system? In order
No.
for us to add a certain position into our database, does it have to have a developer?
No.
No, right?
No, it could be an option nobody is selected.
Exactly. It can be a title that no one has at least, nobody on our site has signed up yet for it. So, yeah, we could
Nobody's a
have
fellow.
CTO, but our application isn't viral enough that any of the CTOs from any tech companies are actually on our site yet.
Yeah.
So we can have the CTO field, doesn't mean any CTOs have joined our site yet. And so this right here is one of the things we can have. So one thing we want to show off here with these ones, again, we talked about how this developer could have many posts in that, and we connect them via IDs. So we have the post connect back to developer through developer ID, and this can just have a list of posts. This one here, though, this is the fancier one, developer to languages. We need to have multiple IDs of languages in developer, and languages to have multiple IDs of developer. The way we commonly do this and how it's going to happen in the background is that another database is going to be created, normally called languages, or one of the directions, depending on how we set it up, languages developer, or developer languages. Again, depending on how we set it up in our JPA will come up with one of these versions. And one column will be language ID. And the other column will be developer ID. So how this table works is you'll have language ID 1 for Java, and we'll have developer 2, language ID 1 again with developer 5, and language ID 1 with developer 3. Then we'll have, this isn't lining up right. Can I move stuff on this? I wonder. And now I get this in the way. There. Grab as much as I can, move this over first. Don't want to do that.
Whoa.
To
Upside down.
Like it backwards.
Yeah.
move you over here. You, nope, no, don't do that. Ooh, what are you doing? Actually, I might just rewrite you. Trying to grab that one is going to be a nightmare. Language 1, developer 3. We can also say that developer 2 also knows language 2, which could be JavaScript. So 2.2. Developer 2 also knows language 3, which could be Haskell. Developer 3 also knows language 2 as well, and so forth and so on. And so when we pull, we can also say, hey, I want all languages that developer 3 knows. Let's say developer 3 is Keith. I want to know all the languages that Keith knows. We pull Java and JavaScript out of it. We'll get those 2 languages. Let's say next I want to know Jim's languages. And so yeah, we'll pull, we want to know all the developers, sorry, that know language 1. And so you get Jim, Matt, and Keith get returned because those developers know that. I want all developers that know the language JavaScript. So I get Keith again, and I don't remember who I said number 3 was. Anyway, or number 2 was. So we'll get these 2 people to come in. And so that's how we can pull that out. So we can find all the developers that know a certain language, or we can find all the languages a certain developer knows. That's how we can use the many-to-many system. And that's what this table allows us to do. It makes those multiple connections. And so that's what happens in the background under the hood. We recognize this as a many-to-many. And so we can also represent this though in a different way. While we can use a built-in table like this by setting up a many-to-many relationship, we can also create our own many-to-many relationship through our own table. And with that, I want to do, again, let's do a quick thing here. Screenshot, please. Oof, there we go. So we can refer to that again later. Clear now. One of the examples I was thinking of was that car or vehicle, sorry, to customer. This will be a great way to show this one. And then I'll use another example as well. So vehicle to customer. This one, we could say make this simply a many-to-many. A customer can rent many vehicles, and a vehicle can have many customers using it over time. And that will just create that one-to-one relationship, that one-to-one parallel, that it'll create that vehicle customer table. We have vehicle 1 was rented by customer 1. Vehicle 8 was rented by customer 1. Vehicle 2 was rented by customer 2. 4 and 2. 5 and 1. 2 and 3. 8 and 5. So we have that data. Now there's no additional data though for each of these rents that occurred, right? Each time one of these rents occurred, there's no additional data, right? We just know that customer 1 rented vehicle 1. Where this works, there's usually more data though when customer 1 rents vehicle 1, right?
Right.
So we can create a more complicated version of a many-to-many by creating our own intermediary database, intermediary system. By doing a one-to-one between the two of these, in between them. Oh, sorry, one-to-many, sorry. In between, we can create the rental entity. We have a customer can do many rentals, but each rental involves a single customer. And it's required. Same thing here, that each vehicle can have multiple rentals, but each rental only involves a single vehicle, but it must include a vehicle. And now the rental will have vehicle ID, customer ID, which that right there already looks very familiar to the table we just looked at, right? But now we can add time frame, price, and let's say gas level. Start and end, right? S and gas level end. So we can add additional data on this many-to-many. Through rental, we have this many-to-many connection between customer and vehicle. Rental is the one that's creating that many-to-many connection, that a customer can have many vehicles. Because we can still say, well, find me all the vehicles that customer 3 took, right? So rental, I can still do that same question of, hey, what vehicles did customer 3 rent? Let me see all the vehicles that customer 3 rented. Hey, I want to see all the customers that rented the Dodge Durango we have. I don't even know if that's a real car.
Sounds right.
Yeah, the Tesla, it is? Oh, cool.
I don't know. Sounds right.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Dodge
It
Durango,
is.
yes.
Yeah,
it
that's
is?
real.
Oh, cool. I'm not a car person, so the fact that that actually came out of my mouth, I'm like, that real? Yeah, let's say we have a Tesla. I want to know all the
Commercials.
people that rented our Tesla. And let's say I want to do that because you know what? Let's say our Dodge Durango. Let's say that thing's out of like it's run its course. We don't want to rent anymore. It's kind of we got the newer model out. So you know, when I offer this car to all the people who previously rented it at a major discount before we put it up in general sale. Say, hey, you've rented this car before. You said you liked it. Would you like to buy it? So we could send out a nice little flyer to them saying, hey, we're selling this car you rented. Would you like to get it? Otherwise, yeah, we just put it out for the general sale. And so that's something as a company we could do, right? And so this is a complex many-to-many relationship. And so that's something those are tools we have as well. We have a relationship many-to-many through a more detailed relationship that involves a many-to-one and a one-to-many. That's exactly what that original item was before too. The other item we had before, which was the developer languages are there. We identified that as a many-to-many, but how that dev to lang table worked, it was a many to one each direction. See how those are similar now?
So,
You can do more complex stuff in your system if you want. I'm not requiring you to do that. Just know that, yeah, if you're struggling to come up with a many-to-many in your system, here's your many-to-many here by covering, but also your one-to-many, many-to-one. So there's one thing you could do. I still want you to be more creative, come up with another just simple many-to-many if you can, but this is one thing you can come up with, right?
so just a question.
Go for it.
So from vehicle to rental to customer, right?
Mhm.
You would need to, wouldn't you, like what, in my example, you would want to go, you get the vehicle, but you want to go to the lot to be able to see if the car is available and then rental, then customer. So is that like, you would add that in as well?
Only if we care. So not necessarily we don't need that direct connection. We don't need to bring that location in because we can get location through vehicle. So when I say, hey, find me
The vehicle can have a location off this one, another database off here for location for this side over here.
location here, we connect it this way. We have the
Goes over there because the
the,
vehicle has a location and
that's a
location.
single
is
location, multiple vehicles.
Multiple vehicles in a location.
Location, multiple vehicles. Oh, and it has to have a location actually. So,
Yeah, so it has to have, the vehicle has to have a location and connected to there, so we get that and then we can, yeah.
But what happens is that we wouldn't have location in rental. We wouldn't put the location here because if I wanted to know where the vehicle was, I could just say, oh, join location on vehicle ID, bring location in that way. I don't need to hear SQL offer allows me to add in other items via a useful using any sort of ID. So using foreign keys. So since location doesn't exist, when I make the search on rental, I can say join location on vehicle ID.
Yeah,
And that way,
You
yes,
can always-
then-
but you can always do a search on vehicle at location. You can always do a SQL search to make sure that that's available before going through. You can always do a search on that.
Yep.
You don't have to join them or do anything. You can just do a flat out search and
Yep.
and then
Again, I don't see how the location would really decide whether or not a rental should exist, because by that time we're adding it, meaning that the rental has been processed. So I wouldn't say that the location belongs in the rental because the person wouldn't even select it unless it was at the location. Because again, in our system, most likely we would only show the vehicles within a certain location.
Well, just to be able to have like I would say the rental, only in the rental would be a Boolean saying if the car is available to be rented or not. It's just be a Boolean.
Well, no. So again, rental though isn't about what's available and not available. Rental is about
Oh, it's a contract?
an active. Yes, a rental has occurred. Let me add this rental contract in.
Okay, yeah.
Currently, I have it marked. Yes, this is at the end when the vehicle was returned. So yes, you would probably want to also add to this rental database in a real system. Again, we're trying not to create a fully actual functioning
No,
one.
yeah.
You would probably have start date and end date, and you would compare that against the current time when deciding whether or not to show. You would only pull any vehicle from here, and then yeah, you would join it with rental. So location, vehicle, and rental, and only show the vehicles that are outside of any where their end date is outside. So if they have anything where the end date with the current date is in between a start and end date, we wouldn't show it. But that's getting very fancy with your scripting. You could also simplify by just putting the Boolean inside a vehicle, actually saying
Oh, that's-
available on.
Yeah,
I
but
would put it in there. Because even if the only argument I would say there is even if you would add start and end time to rental, let's say, is there any guarantee? Is there a guarantee that the person will actually return it on the end date?
no, there isn't.
No, we might be trying to track down the person, right? They didn't show up. There's a no call, no show. The rental car isn't back yet.
They're stolen the car for flat out. They could just drove away and stole it.
Right. And so that's where a Boolean on vehicle saying available can be useful. When it's rented, we create the rental contract. We turn this into false on vehicle. Once it's returned, we can turn that back to true. And then we can just do a simple search on active vehicles at a certain location.
But yeah, no, but vehicle goes to location though, because that's attached to that.
Again, does anyone else have to do these? No, you can come up with your own concept. Don't take these if you don't want to. If this doesn't seem like we don't want to do, come up with your own mapping. And again, I wanted to see what you guys come up with, and we can discuss and come up with a really cool app. The end result we have may not match any of your stuff. With the discussion, we can come up with a really cool thing to come up with, a really cool thing to create. I did want to review this concept of this many-to-many that actually has this more complex middle guy. So I'm glad we were able to talk about it, but I was going to talk about it more after seeing what you guys came up with. But what we're trying to create is that thing I had before. So mapping where we're coming up with entities and how they connect. I don't care about the actual specifics of the entities yet. You guys can come up with the actual what those entities contain later on when you actually build these out. Like what is in location, what's in vehicle, what's in rental, what are these other fields we have in rental. Those things you guys can come up with later. One thing I could say would be, no, I want to give you more. So, well, yes, technically this right here, this thing right here is considered a many-to-many overall. I wouldn't count it as a many-to-many. I want to be able to come up with also a simple many-to-many as well. This though would cover your one-to-many and many-to-one. So you have your two directions there out of rental. So rental has your many-to-one and many-to-one both way. But yeah, then you have your vehicles and customer doing the one-to-many. So that would cover those two routes right there. So you have your two routes of one-to-many and many-to-one. So then you would just need the many-to-many and one-to-one. A simple many-to-many, one-to-one. You guys can go to the-
Hold on. So, like, is there a requirement for how many connections we have to have?
Yes, I wanted 4 connections overall.
Four.
Yep.
4 connections of any kind or
Yep, and
specific?
from anywhere to anywhere.
Okay,
So
cool.
I know
Okay.
mine has been, we were doing this thing where it was coming out, we'll do a quick stop and back, so I'll bring up the picture again. We just did that. Usually says to the desktop, it's not there. That's not it. I don't think it captured that. It did, I totally saw it capture that. I feel like Windows, I think Mac has something called recent. Nope. I'm confused now. Usually it saves it right here in the desktop when I do a screenshot, a snapshot. Fun. Nope, I don't see it. Oh, wonderful. All right, let's do that again. Create it again. Whatever, it's fine. Again, pretty repetition of this, and then I'll never forget it. The
Can you not undo it?
no, because I closed it.
Oh,
Where we have our posts, we have our languages, we have our picture, and we have our title. That's actually correct. Or was it? So that's the 1-to-1. Get that as a mandatory when you're unemployed. Posts, optional 2-1. We have our many, simple. So again, this is a simple many-to-many. There's no additional data connecting these two together. We have a picture 1, which is the 1 optional mandatory. And then the other one I'll bring up is again another complex item, but is complex but yet not complex. But we have a many-to-many that has a meaning behind it. And so we have posts and developers. And again, the one you guys already hinted at, and I said it was too complicated to mention right now, but now I'm ready to mention it this time. With a common thing in social media systems, with posts, what we tend to do with them, a lot of those things, a lot of those sites offer.
Likes.
Right, we can like things. So like right here, another entity, but all we need to know is just, we want to make sure that somebody who likes something can't like it again. So all we need to know is just keep track. And we also want to know, if for a developer, what they like. So we're able to say, hey, what are all the posts that this developer liked? So we can run an algorithm and see if we can figure out why and make recommendations and sell them advertisements.
Yeah.
Very common thing. This is the whole concept. The whole purpose of likes is to get data on you. So just be aware of that next time you like something. Feeding the algorithm and feeding the ads.
Keep getting these girls some bikinis on my thing.
You too, huh? No.
Yeah. What the heck is going on?
But yeah, like, if you think about it, though, all we need to know is there's no additional information we need necessarily. We just need to know who liked it, so developer ID, developer ID, and what they liked, which would be the post ID. Does this look familiar to you at all? What kind of database, what kind of table does that look like?
SQL.
talking about.
What sort of relationship table does that look like? Does that look like another table we've seen before, where you just had 2 IDs?
Yep.
Which one's that one again?
Called.
It's 1-to-1, right?
Not a one-to-one,
Oh, no.
One to many.
not a
Uh,
one-to-many. What were the tables of the Lang
Oh, many-to-many?
dev? Yep. If you think about it, the Lang dev table,
Right.
is just the ID and ID. So yeah, this is just the like column is also a technically a many-to-many connection, but we named it so that we have that context of what this many-to-many relationship is. And so this is a simple many-to-many that has context. It's not just a developer can have many posts and and posts can have many developers. This is different. This is a developer likes, but they can like many posts. So this is still a many-to-many connection between developer and posts, but it's through a one-to-many and a one-to-many. So
It should be
yes, a
one-to-many.
a developer can like multiple items, but a single developer likes them. I also don't need to like anything. So 0 and mandatory. A post can also have many likes, but doesn't have to have any at all, but a like must be on a post. And so we again have that many-to-many connection, but it's not an explicit many-to-many connection, right? This is we're definitely not saying that developer and posts has a many-to-many relationship. They do not. But there is this type of many-to-many relationship through likes, because a developer can like many posts, and posts can be liked by many developers. And so through like, we can say that there's this many-to-many connection, but it's through these single domains, these one-to-manys. So I will say, getting into database relationships, you can go down a rabbit hole. Be aware of that. They can get complex, which is why there are roles in companies called database admins and database network architectures and stuff like that. So don't worry yourself about too much about mastering this system. I'm trying to show you just some ideas. You can be creative and come up with you can see how the things work with each other. The main reasoning though for this is so we can set up the items correctly so they can be searched correctly, so we can query things accurately. That's why it's good to know the basics of how you can connect things. All right. So that's what I want to do, is come up with your ideas of what you want to do with the car rental. And we'll do this again tomorrow. What we'll do today though is we'll actually go ahead and create the one-to-many for posts. So we'll do that one today, and that's it today. We'll set up that database. We'll see about getting some routes going. See if we have enough time. Sorry, at 8 o'clock. So we'll see if we get some routes. We'll probably do a 30-minute walkthrough. Create the posts entity and see how that annotation changes.
You take a snapshot of that before you delete it.
True. I'll try it again. Yeah. So that, and let's try saving PNG in Finder. Good, I now have it. Relation map. I'll be able to share
It's
that.
kind of weird to say that the developer can like many posts because they can, but they can only like a post once though.
Mhm. That's why I said it's very dangerous to say it's a many-to-many relationship. It is, but it's a different type of many-to-many. It's a many-to-many with context. And that's why I want to make sure there's this difference here, why we would show it like this, but yet show this many-to-many like this. So while the database layout for like and lang developer is identical, the meanings behind the two are different. So that's where, again, things can get really interesting. And I wanted to show this so you don't get nervous when you're like, well, wait, this like, I didn't want anyone ever trying to create a like thing and be like, well, this just looks like a many-to-many. Am I doing this wrong? I never want anyone thinking that it's wrong, but that is actually perfectly fine. That's why it helps to do this, because then you can just see how that works out. And could we add more detail to likes? Of course, we can add timestamps. We know when they liked it. We can also add, we could also say, count how many likes they do. So you know what? We don't disable them from allowing it to hit likes. We don't count their additional clicks, but we want to see how many times they do it. And because I can guarantee, well, I don't know how many people here have it, but if you have actually used TikTok before and you've ever tried to like something, you double tap on it to like too, right? That's one of the ways to like something. You can double tap on it. You can hit the heart, but you can also double tap to like. What's interesting is if you do more double taps, it will show the like sign again as if you'd liked it again, but it doesn't add anything more to the likes. I can guarantee though that TikTok is, I can't guarantee, but I'm very confident. Something happened to Matt, but we'll find out.
You lost feed.
Something, but I think I saw him reach over, so he
Matt,
might be away.
Not over his laptop.
Yeah, he might have just stepped away. But
So you're saying if I just rapidly tap the screen, it's actually counting the likes, even though it only
I think it is. I am confident that TikTok is gathering that data. How many times did you actually double tap it as a way to gauge how much did you like this so that they can make, again, have a better chance of recommending the accurate items to you. Does
That's
it show
crazy.
it? Is that definite? No, I can't say for sure that they actually are doing that, but I would say that that is a data point to grab. That is another data point you could get. How many times did they actually double tap it? How well did they
There's
like
a
it? Did
very
they
good
check-
chance that they actually track that.
I would be
Anything
surprised
they
if they
can
weren't.
get.
I would
Yeah.
be surprised if they weren't, and I would be thinking to myself, that is a loss of data. That is data you are missing out on. So
post something on TikTok and we're all as a class just keep just tapping repetitively. And
But do you tap it and you can undo it?
if you tap the heart, you can undo a like. Yes, you can tap a heart to like and tap the heart to remove the like. But if you double tap, that just likes it. And if you double tap something you've already liked, it shows the animation again. It does show the animation pop up again. So that's me one, and then me is just thinking like, you know what? Why not track that? So what we could add in this like table here is add times. I put down my pen, but you can tell when I'm not using my pen. Good, that does make a difference. Yay. We very easily could do dev ID, PID, post ID, and then times. Whereas each row of the table is a single like on the item when we want to tabulate how many likes an item has, right? But for our analytics purposes and whether or not to add certain things to you, I can say that yes, Keith, ID 3, liked that Bikini Girls post 10 times. So we definitely want to show him
That
more of those
many?
girls.
Oh, man.
Well,
We
can
definitely
see-
want to show more of those videos.
Yeah, we can see how many times he clicked on it, but it can only, but on the display, it shows that he liked it. That
Once.
was it.
Yeah.
But
We
we,
know that, let's say, Sergio liked that gaming computers build video 20 times. So we definitely need to show him more gaming builds
That's
where
right.
they're building gaming computers.
You gotta learn somehow.
That is something
Alright.
that I wouldn't be surprised if they could, and that's something they could do. They could add more details to the like. Of course, they can keep it simple, but we could add more. The rows say that these videos each got one like each, but the times let us know how much each person potentially liked it. How well did they like it? Because they just started rapidly down like, this is great, this is funny. I tapped it multiple times. I want to make sure I liked it as I'm watching the video. So
Look, many years ago, I had a website developed by a company in Brazil, and they gave me the option to track how long someone was looking at an item,
Yep.
how many times did they click, like everything, every
Oh, yeah.
single information you can grab.
that is Facebook. Facebook does that 100%. They track how long how fast you're scrolling. When you stop and look something, they track how long you looked at it. The ads example, they'll definitely do that. They do that for the ads. That's why they also have their AV stuff on it, where you can test different versions of the same ad to different people to see which ones are grabbing their attention. Yeah, no, certain sites, they will analyze every little bit of it. They will track where your mouse is on the site, when your mouse hovers over something or moves. So they track it all.
No scary. No scary.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Data is gold right now, and everyone here, everyone in this classroom, you are the product being monitored to know what you want to buy and what you would.
Very meta indeed.
Very meta, yes. 100%. So that's why I'm also trying to say, don't worry too much about getting this stuff down to another science, understanding database relationships. Just get the basics so that you can build a basic skeleton. Because yes, in major companies, they tend to have a database manager and they have things that are, yep, Matt, yep. Oh, Matt is still here. Sorry, Matt, your feed went dead, so we don't even know if you're here. So this is free, yep, you are the product, 100%, which is, yeah, I've been getting, there's been some of these YouTubers that have been advertising these products and it makes me like, oh God, what was one of them called Drop or something where you go and you buy and you give them your receipts and they give you points to buy gift cards. I'm like, they're just tracking to sell your data and then they're gonna advertise. So, yep, it's like you are totally, yeah, they're like, it's free to use and you get free gift cards. Like, yeah, but they're making billions of dollars on your data.
Do you know which company started to do the tracking of that kind of thing? Stuff?
Facebook was one of the first ones, I think.
Target.
Target, really?
Yeah, when Target came up with the idea of membership, so
Right. That was
they
one of the
knew
biggest memberships,
everything.
Yes.
They knew everything that you bought.
Yep.
So
you're
like
right.
they had the data, for instance, if a woman bought a pregnancy test, they know that like
Mhm.
in like 4 months they should advertise like baby stuff for her.
Yeah. Google too. Yeah, I think
Oh,
it's
there was a,
Google
there was
as
a
well.
case, yeah. There was-
Google, yeah, Google, and yeah, Google was probably the first website to do it. But yeah, those memberships you get at those companies. Yeah, that's totally what they're doing. They're getting data about you. So, 100%. Just data. It's all about data.
All about that data, though.
Yep. Especially if you're ever going to create a company, always think about that concept that if you're creating a company, you can sell your product, you can do that, but there's a secondary market for you if you can capture data from your product as well. If you can capture data about your customers, that's a secondary income flow for any company you have.
So
Yep, you can sell the data about your customers. So, always be aware of that.
there's no way of avoiding it.
Oh no, I've already accepted that Google knows all my deepest, darkest secrets. And the days that I've been stupid and had to Google something that I should have known the answer to off the top of my head, and the days that I've searched out of stuff out of pure curiosity, and Google's probably sitting there like, why are you asking this? This doesn't relate to anything you've ever searched before. Why do you care? Curiosity. So I already know Google knows everything about me and probably thinks I'm a weird person. It's all good.
Me too, for other reasons.
No one needs confessionals. We've all confessed to Google.
I get money from Google for doing the rewards. They ask me questions about things that I've done.
More ads. Data.
There's a knock at your door.
I
Need
made
the
more than
data.
$100
Come on with
on
us,
Twitter,
son.
man.
It adds money to my Google Pay account, and so I can get free games. So because I do the subscription.
You better put that on your taxes.
I made more than
Yeah.
100. There's actually like you guys use Mac stuff, Apple
Yeah.
stuff. They don't have that, but if you have an Android, there's an app that you can download from Google, and
Yeah.
every now and then they give you like a survey for you to answer, and they pay like
That's what I'm
$1.
That's
Yep, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's a Google Rewards. That's what I use.
Facebook's trying to do that now too, do some sort of survey thing where they'll give you, where they're asking. They don't mention rewards though, so I'm thinking like, Facebook, you're really gonna try this and not give people stuff? You're just saying, hey, you'll help us change the future and build new products and make change and do things like, if you're not incentivizing, you just, Facebook just wants the data for free. That's all they want. Anyway, they refuse to ever pay their data sources. And it's gonna feel weird to realize that I just called every single one of you guys a data source.
It's true.
Not a human. You're a data source. And that's how Facebook sees us all. We're not humans. We're data sources.
I don't
Anyway.
use data source for-
Meta. Last thing I'll say, if you ever really want to get really meta into it, there was a book that I read called The Circle. Very, very fascinating to read about, and that concept of liking and data and all that kind of openness of social media was really, really fascinating. They did make a movie about it. I actually didn't see the movie yet. Something I should check out. But yeah, they did it on an audiobook and it was really interesting. So yeah, it's social media, The Circle. It's fascinating. Anyway, that'll get some interesting meta, this idea of like always having all your personal time and all that stuff out in the public, cameras and pictures and talking about everything, everybody's feedback, being social. Yeah, anyway, I can share that. That's cool.
Social score.
What's that?
That's coming.
Yep.
What is it?
Social credit score.
Kind of, yeah, something similar to that. It started, what is it? Black Mirror did that one more. I don't think
Yeah.
The Circle had the social credit score, but it kind of, you felt that concept was there, but not there yet. Like being popular was a good thing for you and gave you good credit, gave you good
Yeah.
feedback from the people. But yeah, Black Mirror did the social credit score thing better than anyone else did.
I
That one
remember
really
seeing
did
that.
I don't know.
saw
China does it pretty well.
China does it pretty well, man.
Oh, he's talking about
say
the
that.
I'm talking about like showing
I
the-
know.
the bigger impact that a social media score being a social credit score that everybody has access to at any time.
Right.
So
I think
Yeah.
the Orville had that. The Orville actually had an episode on that, didn't they?
what is it?
The Orville.
Don't know that one.
You ever
That's
watched-
Seth MacFarlane's take on Star Trek.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yep.
interesting.
Oh, it's definitely coming for sure. I mean, the electronic, what do you call it, driver's license is in Utah is being done right now on your cell phone rather than a paper, an actual card.
It will be
And,
interesting. to see
and,
that
and they're
myself.
gonna embed it with vax stuff and
Oh, God.
everything else. And
Interesting.
just eventually it's gonna have social credit score.
That is
No,
something
I
I
find
don't know
very
if they'll ever
funny
be able to
is,
do. That one, I'm wondering about this in this country with the social credit score, if that'll ever actually be a thing. Because we do know how bad it is. We already have enough issues with the current credit score system. That already has a major problem. So I don't see a lot of people caring for that. The big thing, the thing that kind of confuses.
A lot of things that people don't care for, but comply. You're gonna lose your job if you don't get vaccinated. Comply.
True, but that's
I,
already been
I
a
found it
thing.
very funny when they started to do the vaccine, and there were some people saying like, "I'm not." There was like microchips to get my information. Like, dude, you have a cell phone. All the information that they only ever anything.
But I will
it's-
clarify, the idea of having to do certain things or have certain things in order to get a job has been around forever. You have to get background checks, drug tests, vaccination, having certain vaccinations to get a job. That's already been a thing. So this concept that just this new thing of having COVID being required is suddenly getting everybody like, you can't mandatory. It's like, but that's been a
The
thing.
problem
before.
with the COVID shot, nobody knows the long-term effect. So they're making you get vaccinated with something they don't have
That's
any
the
clue.
argument, but the tool behind it has been used for decades. The mRNA vaccine is not a new vaccine. So
It's changing your DNA. I
I
had this discussion with Arnell. Ask him.
I don't think he said that it
changing
does.
my DNA.
It
Yeah, but
does
maybe
not
it's
change your
changing your DNA for the good, though.
It
You
does
know,
not
the ones
change
that
your
don't
DNA.
get it are the ones that fall behind.
It does not change your
All right.
DNA.
I know. It doesn't.
Well, I don't
I hope
understand.
Darnell did not say that.
No, I did not say he said that.
Okay, good.
I mean,
There are people
know
that
I
think
had
it
to
does,
get-
yes.
You had to have your mumps vaccines and all those vaccines to go to
But
college,
those are
to
actual
go to
vaccines.
preschool.
They're
They're the
actual
same
vaccines.
thing. They're mRNA. They're the exact same thing.
No, but you don't have to get
I did have
inoculated
a-
every 3 or 4 months with it.
Welcome to the class, Dave. We're not gonna do this now.
Great code discussion.
2-hour
yeah.
time skip.
Time skip. Yep.
Yeah, the class died for 2 hours.
Yep.
Fell asleep.
An hour. 30
Oh,
minutes.
whatever.
I just saw that
Okay.
ship I
That was
just
Theseus
read
thing,
about
yeah.
that. Yeah, I just
Yep.
read about that being used as like to explain immutability. And it was kind of
Yes.
interesting. Like,
That's kind of cool, actually. I would love to hear about that, actually. I could see how they could use it, kind of, but I'm very curious to see how they used it. Yeah, the last part of that thing, if anyone who didn't know about the ship of Theseus, the over 10 years, you replace one part at a time is the same ship. The other version is if you were to explode the ship, but then you find every single piece, and put it back together, is that the same ship? Even though it blew up.
Yeah.
It's all the same
Ooh, like
pieces,
that.
but you had to put it back together.
Hmm.
And that's kind of that idea of like, again, what's alive and what isn't? What is the same thing? What isn't the same thing? So I warn anybody thinking about that stuff can make your brain hurt sometimes. But let's go ahead and build some entities. So back to our models. We're gonna go ahead and build our post model. Got my notes again. There it is. Good. All right. So new Java class. Post, or not actually, I don't use post because that's a verb. So I want to make sure we use something different because I don't want this getting confused with the verb post. So any other ideas of what we can call a post in our site, Geeky Likes? So, Twitter has tweets. What do we want to call our Geeky Likes?
You can't do a post.
Status.
Do status. Yeah.
Geek out.
What is it?
Geek out.
A geeko?
Get out.
Geek out.
Geek out.
Geek out. Let's go with it.
Okay.
Geek out. There we go. Just like that. We'll do a geek out model. All right. That's what I'm fun
Wow.
with this one.
wow.
You guys you gave me geeky like. That already is bad enough as it is.
I thought that was straight from like the mouth of Arnell.
It
someone
was.
said.
Kind of. Apparently he bought the domain. But you guys are the ones who gave it to me, not Arnell. Arnell may have
Well, that's
written
where
the
I got
domain
it
name,
from.
but you guys are the ones who gave it to me. I got a geek out, and again, we'll just do add ID. Oh, before we do that,
Oh yeah, we need to make this an entity, right?
yes.
Oh.
We have ID. Get auto-generated again. Why are you not popping up anymore?
It's a generated value, not auto-generated.
Yeah,
Oh,
wire.
right, generated value, whoops. I don't know why I went with auto, that's confused the hell out of me now. Yep, I generated value, good. We'll just do private. Long ID again. Next up, we're gonna go ahead and add in the two items we need for a geek out, which is gonna be the title and the content. So just simply private string title. Private string content. Now, of course, we want to connect this to our developers, which will be the developers have it. So I like to keep these things up here where the IDs are at the top and the contents down below. This one, I'm going to make this so. Yeah, what is the relationship between posts and developers? So post to developer specifically.
Post to developer, that's one to many, right? Or I'm sorry, many to one. Had it backwards.
Yeah. Well, again, what is the connection of post to developer? Not a developer to post, but post to developer.
Post to developer, that's many to one.
That'd be one to
Many
one.
to, yeah, many to
To
one.
one, yep.
Yeah.
Anyone, because a post can have a single developer.
This makes my dyslexia go absolutely crazy when I'm
Yes,
trying
this
to
one's gonna be tricky.
figure
I wanna
out
make
what.
sure it's there,
Oh
yeah.
God.
We can have many posts to one developer. So posts to developer is many to one. Developer to post is one to many. One developer to many posts. So we're going to do this. I probably should have done it the other direction first. That's fine. We'll do it this way. Many to one. And yeah. Yep. And then so we have the many to one. We're going to also bring in the actual item called private. Developer. Now we could also do developer creator if we wanted to. So you could create it, call it creator. But again, whatever you think is going to be easier for you to remember later on when you look it up. This is going to be the column name. Not commonly though, I highly recommend just doing this because this is going to benefit JPA. On top of this, we need to add a little more. We want to give details, of course, on how they map it, how the system maps it. So I'm going to add one more thing. Something called a join column. This is the details on how the two items are connected. Is that connected by name? Developer underscore ID. And we're also going to add in the reference column name. What reference column name are we referencing? So we're going to reference the ID column of developer. All right.
Bring it back to HTML stuff from JavaScript.
So this is what's going to connect it to the table, by the way. This is why we don't need to provide the table name. This is the name of the current field we're creating and the column in the reference table that we're referencing. And just in case you're wondering, how does JPA know what table that is? It's the data type. All right. That's our one-way connection. Now to do this though, we also want to make sure we have it the other way too. So we want to be able to pull a list of all the posts that a developer has. So now we need to update our developer model. We need to add in private list. By the way, I think the last time that we had to do arrays because of my repository, I didn't have this built in. And so since the JPA repository was considered basic, I think that's why the lists weren't working. So, I know we can use lists. I had them here before. That's why I was very confused when the list didn't work last time. But we'll do a list of post, not post, sorry, geek outs.
A geek out list. All right.
And that should be a small g there. Oop.
Decouts?
Geek outs.
Okay.
I typed bad. Again, I'm going to add those same things. On this one, do the at one to many This is the developer to geek out direction. So we have one developer too many geek outs. We have the one to many. This one, we're going to do the exact same details. I'm going to add in the join. Now, there is a chance that JPA will automate this join column thing for you, but you're relying on it to make sure it does it in a way that you'll understand. By doing it this way, you're getting this consistency that you want and make sure it does it right. I'm going to do the name. And again, we're going to put the same information here, though. We're not going to put geekouts here. We're still going to have this be almost identical to the previous item because, again, we're just telling it how it joins. These are still joined by the developer ID. The developer ID is still what's connecting the two. We're not connecting via post ID. So I'm going to do developer ID. And the reference column, again, is still going to be ID. So still, even in this case, so we're still referring to an ID column. This is how the data is being connected. There is more, as we get into SQL, this will make more sense. This term join is a SQL concept. And so we're joining these two tables, utilizing the developer ID as its key value, as its foreign key that's going to combine these two items in both directions. All right. That's the connecting point. Technically, that's it. This gives us what we need.
We don't have to initialize that list at all.
Not necessarily, because we're fine with null. We can leave it null. You can definitely initialize it if you want. It's not a big deal because null is fine. It can be null because list is as an object. So we definitely don't need to put it in. And that way, when JPA puts the first one in, it will decide what list to use.
Okay.
Whether it be an array list, a linked list, or whatever list it wants to use, we'll let JPA define what list to use.
We don't need to make setters and getters.
What's that?
We don't need to make setter and getter.
Actually, don't think we do in this one because there is no setters for a list.
Okay.
JPA will handle this one.
Okay.
I think this one I also may have had last time. Where I think I went wrong with it is that I had a setter and getter and we didn't use the built-in systems for it. Yeah, no, we don't need a setter and getter because yeah, we don't. That's not how you modify a list. You don't use a set or a getter for modifying a list.
No, that's true, but I didn't
Yeah.
know if the entity needed a setter and getter to be able to access it.
Yeah, no, not my notes. No, it doesn't.
Okay.
I'm looking at what I wrote last time and no, it didn't have it. So good. Nope, no. Okay, I'm double checking, make sure. Yeah,
Well, if it's an error, we can go back and fix it.
true. Yeah, I'm checking my notes and yeah, I don't see that. Yeah, well, if we need it, we'll add them after. But we'll do it like this. Yeah, my notes, I don't have them there. I run this. You're making me nervous that I didn't actually run it. So, no, we'll find out. So, as is, so we added this item. Now, again, as long as your application properties has this update field in here, because we made changes to an existing system, it will modify it. It will go ahead and update. It will change. It will add this new list, new columns. So that's one of those benefits of having that update. So we're slowly modifying this. We're still modifying the application. So we want to make sure that the database is modified as we make new changes, as we add more details. When you're ever at a point where the application is done, you don't want any up, and you want to make sure that only confirmed updates that will affect the database are ready to go. You can make sure that this gets changed to just connect, or what is it, none? I got you guys have the notes. Yeah, no, none. I think it was none. But you would want to change this to none so that way it won't change the database when you connect. And that way, if someone accidentally pushes code that wasn't approved for the database, it'll get denied. Let's go ahead. And at the same time, though, also, it could just be because you want to make sure you're not updating a live database as well. Anyway, multiple reasons for it, but let's go ahead and make sure this runs. So, oh, I had it running all weekend. Cool. Also, a reminder, just heads up, David, you're not gonna miss anything on Thursday because there's no class on Thursday due to the holiday.
What holiday is that?
Veterans Day.
You
Oh,
probably
yeah,
don't
that's
have work.
right. November 11th.
You probably don't
Ow!
have work.
You know what that means?
What?
I'm gonna get sloppy drunk.
I
Get
was
white girl
wondering if
wasted.
this was gonna say. Yeah, all good.
Drunk until you turn blue.
I think I might have to treat myself to the titty bar.
Cliff, I have,
we're recording, my bad.
minor question on this. Could you scroll up in in what's running here? Yeah, you don't have what I do. Can I share real quick?
Okay, I'm very concerned what it is. Oop,
Oh, yeah, I can't
That
share
one.
what you're sharing. There we are.
Yeah, I hit the pause instead of the stop.
I have this, and I don't know. I mean, my stuff
Yep.
runs. It's not a
Take
problem.
a look at your application properties. You're
Sure.
using a deprecated version,
It's
so
deprecated.
on line 2,
Mhm.
you need to add in CJ after MySQL dot.
Oh,
So dot CJ.
got it.
That was the original driver a couple of versions ago. They've just changed the mapping. That's all. The packaging. So,
I must have copied the notes down wrong.
all good. It's actually valid. And that.
Yeah, it was working. I was just confused because I didn't see it on anybody else's. All right,
That's
I
the
can hop this
deprecated
back to you
version,
now.
Oh no, a walkthrough actually I used to confirm my knowledge of it. Did show that same old driver as well. So I typed it in wrong too once, and then I saw that. Oh, cool. Okay, deprecated. Got it. Update. So
Okay.
I told you guys the correct version because yeah, I didn't want to teach you guys a deprecated version. All right. Good. Back to sharing. Yee. Oh. Down again. So it allows it. Let's go ahead and add a new user to our system now. Where did I had
Postman?
Postman is still open. Is that the one I wanted to use? Actually, 88. Yes, that is it. Nice. Where did I go? Cool. This is from Thursday. So let's go ahead and do the post. Get rid of that. Right there. If you want to get one by cohort, or ID anymore. So get the post developer. Who's joining my class this time? Or joining my application this time?
Hold on.
Jeremy's coming in finally. Nice.
Yeah.
Jeremy and I. Cohort number. What do you want to put?
69, 11.
I was gonna say no. Nice, but no.
420, 69.
We're in a
Nice.
Call of Duty chat
Them's the
zone with
rules.
like 12-year-olds.
Yeah, I know.
12-year-old
am-
usernames. What languages are we adding, Jeremy? We're gonna keep JavaScript, Java. What other languages?
Pascal,
Ooh, nice. Wow. Any others?
C,
Good.
and what's that one? Basic? Yeah, basic.
All right. Cool.
Another
Nice.
basic friend.
Put down assembly there. We're finding assembly language people.
Oh yeah, get out of assembly.
Got that in there. Now note how, of course, the other one doesn't show up yet. You haven't added anything to it. Let's do a quick thing here, though, and now let's actually create a route for posting. So again, it can be null. Don't forget that. That's the concept here. It can be null, our concept. So that object can be null. Doesn't have to exist. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back to get and hit send. From there. That should be updating my database. So this better work. Let's find out though. Let's go ahead and do a little more. Let's actually create our GeekOut repository. Extend JPA.
Oh, it's gonna be interface.
Oh, right, interface. Dang it.
I made an interface and I was like, oh, did I do it wrong?
You're right. You're right. Delete. I just clicked the wrong item again.
I could have just typed in interface and
New class, and I always forget to click. It's the same, yeah, new class, and I just forget to click interface. So I'm gonna do new count. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and extend JPA repository. And that's going to be a geek out, comma, long. Let's not forget that this time. Give this a couple seconds for you guys to write this out. Again, don't forget the geek out long bit, because that's what had us all weird last time.
Crucial.
I've never seen the geek out class in Java. This is the special. I'm just messing around. I just think
It's fun to see it, isn't it? It's such a great class name. I'm happy to have it. It's growing on me. It's growing on me.
Yeah, I like it more than Geeky likes, personally.
Yes. We could just end up calling the whole site geek out for all we know. Geek out together now. There's our
That's a great
tagline.
marketing. That's the
Yeah.
marketing ploy right
There's
there.
our tagline. Geek out together.
We're gonna sell this to Arnell.
There we go.
I'm gonna now unfriend you on Geeky Likes for saying that.
Hey, we never said it was gonna be
It's gonna be
friends.
a better name than unfriend.
I was gonna say we never said it was gonna be friendships.
Oh,
They're gonna be
You're gonna
relationships.
destroy
now.
your friendship.
What is it?
You're gonna destroy your friendship.
There you go.
Better
Destroy, yes.
better map your relationship.
I don't know if anyone caught it. That was it was a crud joke, by the way. Destroy your friendship.
Oh,
Oh, that's good.
1000%. Yeah.
I think that went over some people's heads right there, Matt, unfortunately.
I was one of them.
Yes, it was a crud reference there.
It's like the one thing I did understand.
Classic.
Nice job, Keith. Proud of you, Keith.
Oh, man.
Let's create our rest controller for the geek out controller. That just sounds great. The geek out controller. Yes.
oh man.
Just bring in our auto wire
Now it's all
repository. So we're going to bring in our geek out repository.
Hey, Cliff, is this common when we use other frameworks where you just have tons of annotations? Because this is like still, I felt like we only used it with overriding, and then now with Spring Boot, it's everywhere.
It depends on the complexity of the package. Not all do it.
Okay.
This one uses these so that the compiler can search for the information. So its Spring Boot system can search for them. So yes, that's why I said originally a lot of the annotations we're using were for our benefit, because Java didn't really care about them as much. More modern packages have realized that annotations can be a useful way to find things without having to explicitly link them. This is why we don't have to add anywhere or create any sort of creations. It says there's a bunch of factory systems in here that are generating a bunch of classes that you don't have to create.
Okay.
Yep.
Hibernate, just using strictly Hibernate has even more annotations.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, one of the big things behind this is if you, wait, hold on, that's the thing, I feel wrong on that. Why did I feel wrong on me?
Yeah, you just say what it's be. You don't
Right,
do
yeah.
anything. You don't
I was gonna say,
initialize
'cause
it
you
at all.
can't- Yeah, so I was gonna say, notice how we create this repository here, but we never instantiate it because one, you also can't instantiate an interface. So something gets instantiated as a Geek Out repository. We never build any class that implements a Geek Out repository, do we?
No.
No. When Spring Boot runs, one of the things it does is it actually builds a class through something called a factory method, a factory pattern. This is a design pattern, which Cullen, you've probably heard that term before. So you've definitely heard that term before because we've talked about it a bunch, but so you've probably heard it a little bit, but not as much as probably you should. But the factory design pattern can build a class. And so that's what it does. It goes through using the driver from application properties and any of the other systems in there, as well as the details in the class that is connected to build out a class that implements all the built-in repository items that you clarify, but also all the items in here as well. So it inherits and builds out anything that this requires and builds it automatically based on SQL because of the driver and the settings we set.
Line 11, you want private in front of Geek repository?
Yeah, sure.
I guess you don't have to. It could be public too, I guess.
This one doesn't really matter as much, yeah. But yeah, private on that. Right, good there.
So when I was doing my projects, I always use services. The services, all the logic behind the controller, so you don't have to overload the controller with logic.
But
So I've used other one. I use there's a repository and there's other ones called services. And I think that to me, services was always but it was the logic behind, you could do all your logic in the service, and then your controller would be simpler to call the service to be able to do all that extra logic that it made the controller simpler.
but I'm not familiar with services.
Yeah, I believe that one's like a tier pattern.
Okay.
I'm using basics. I'm kind of trying to teach as basic as we can without being too basic, because I don't want to teach. I'm trying to avoid SQL. So
no, it's not SQL. It's more when
no. I'm just saying that's why I'm using JPA instead of like teaching you, instead of using just Hibernate, because that would be more simple than using JPA. Would just be to use Hibernate because we get there'd be fewer of these annotations as well, but then it would be more SQL.
Yeah, no,
Or just using JDBC, no Hibernate either, just using pure JDBC. So I'm trying to find the right areas to keep things certain simple while also using some things. So yeah, I can definitely look at services, but yeah, I think I'm still going to say this is the more common version you'll see.
Yeah, no, like I said, the services was when I did a lot of the logic, a lot of like like a little bit more out than not building the controller to do a lot of logic, extra logic. So that's I was just questioning it. That's okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm not familiar with them. Again, I can't. If I wanted to touch base everything on Spring Boot, we would be here for a couple extra months. So I'm just giving you enough that you guys could start with Spring Boot, and then of course you can dig into more other features and other benefits that they have and other tools that they have. I'm trying to give you guys the entry point into it, so you at least walk in and be like, I feel okay here. Not comfortable, not masterful here, but I feel okay to be in here. I can be in this building. I at least understand kind of what's happening. I can use it. So.
No, you're doing it's good.
Thank you. Also, forgot.
I'm just saying that like from my other projects, it's
Yeah. It's all good. Stay focused though. Let's keep going. We're already running a little late because of our conversation. So request mapping. We're gonna do /API/geekouts. There we go. Our default get mapping, of course, is our get all. So this will be very, very, very simple. Very much similar to what we had before. Private list. Iteratable, right? Iteratable of geekouts. All. Repository dot find all. Done. One done. Nice and quick, right? Do our post mapping so we can create one. So that's what I want to do. Post mapping. The default route again. So no parentheses yet. Private. I'm going to return a new geek out.
We want these methods private?
Oh, whoops. No, we don't. Thank you. Yeah. Wait, one. What's the annotation we need here?
Request body.
Yep.
Is it?
Yeah. Be confident. You had it. Yep.
Request body and the other one confused me a little bit.
Yep.
Request.
Geek out. Now here's the problem here, though. One thing, is there more information we need? Are we expect what else? So in order to create a geek out, what do we need from the user? What does the user need to provide? What's the user needs to provide us, or what are we expecting them to provide us?
The user, the developer that put the geek out.
Yeah, we need to know who did it, and are we expecting the developer, the geek themselves, or the user to provide their user ID to us?
Yes.
They know their user ID?
Oh,
Quick,
no.
What's your user ID number in Twitter, Jim?
The ID of the developer.
Name.
Again, name is not a form, is not the identifying key.
The geek out itself would have the ID of the developer.
Right, the geek out needs it. Well, I'm trying to say, where are we getting it from? So we know that the user is sending us, we know the user can definitely send us this stuff. That's what they're typing in. But where is the developer ID coming from? Are we expecting the user to provide that to us when they make the submit? Are we
Well,
expecting that in the body of the request?
I mean, that's where you're gonna get their ID from, right?
Could do that. There's another option that we could do. Again, we could just get it from here, right? Do that. Right? So there's two ways we can get it, of course. Depends on how our front end is going to work. We could have, yes, the body can have it, and that means that the front end application would pull that from whoever's logged in and provide it, right? We could also add it to the URL. That way it's at the top, it's there, so we know it's them. So there's multiple options we have. But yeah, always be aware that you need to know where data is coming from before you just do things. So just think about that for a second and be like, can we get that in the body, or is it good to have it in the URL? We can expect, we can assume it's going to be in the body, but we can assume that, but there's a problem. Is this looking for an ID number? What's an ID number for the developer?
Geeko doesn't even have a constructor. Do you need a constructor?
I need a bunch of stuff. I just realized. So yeah.
Yeah, I was really confused.
Yeah, I forgot to do the generate commands.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to go quick. So we spent all that time discussing something we did that ate a lot of time away.
Well, if you have the developer object, if you have access to the developer object, you have access to the ID, you have access to all that information.
But again, how are we going to get that full object though? We don't expect the user to have the full object. Are we
No, but
expecting
we
to send
can,
their whole object?
we can get developer.id to
Yes.
be able to get the ID. We can get the ID from there from somehow in some way.
Hold on, I'll give a second. Let's do this quick before we go any farther. So generate constructor, these three.
Empty constructor.
Generate. Oh, yeah, I'm going to add that too. Yeah.
Oh, whoops.
Get it in setter. All those.
From the developer.
And then, yep, right above here, we're going to do another generate constructor. And we're going to select none. Can I do that? Let's select none. There we go. Beautiful. Done. All right. So that's all that. So the developer. Yes, you're saying we can get the ID out of this, but in order to get that, it means geekout.developer must have content. It must be a developer object, but I can't send the full object, can I, in the body without knowing everything in there? And that seems excessive.
No, but in the geek out though, can't you make a method of to get developer ID and to be able to get that through there?
But it has get ID. No, we can try something. I'm going to try something. Yeah, I'm going to give you a chance at this because I had it where yes, I used the post mapping, I used the URL. But you know what? I'm wondering if I can have a partial geek out in the request body if I can send it as developer : bracket ID number and nothing else with no other content. That might work. And then I can pull it from via that. Because yeah, we need to get the whole developer because we're expecting a developer object in order to get it. The data, you know? Do some fun here. Let's do some testing here. Before we save it, let's try to. I can system out, right? On this, I think I can. Yeah. Oh, I see what I did. Whoops.
Well, that was the data type. You needed an identifier for that variable.
Oh, right. I got distracted. That's what it was. Yep. Thank you. I stopped before typing. Thank you.
There you go.
See how we have to do that. So that means that the system needs to be nested enough to do that.
But you're posting it though. Will that give you an output though? Oh, I guess if you call the
Should put
post
it out here.
yeah, it should system out when you post. All right.
The moment we're not going to save it, we're going to return the thing we got. So it's not going to actually build it yet. It's going to return it though. This makes me wonder if I can actually build it with just the ID and I don't need all the other content. I used to grab all the other content. I used to actually have my notes. I have it, me actually finding it from the other repository. I actually feel like that's unnecessary. So I hope this actually works. This will be great. So,
Cross our fingers.
yep. This will run, just what is it going to do? So. Pop over here. We create a new. Just copy this so I don't cut the whole thing. Oop, nope. Button. Go from developers to geekouts. And here in the body, we're going to go back to raw JSON. Developer. ID. And let's see. Go back here for a second. We're going to get developers and who's going to post? Jeremy, Sergio, Matt, Travis, Jim. Who's posting?
Hey, I'll post.
All right. So ID 1. I forgot double quotes, by the way. No double quote around the 1 though, because it's a number. What's the title of your post?
Resistance is futile.
Nah.
Good. And the content?
Welcome to Geeky Likes.
What is going
There we go. Send it to we get. We got empty object, an empty array back. That's not what I expected, actually.
What about the console though? Is that supposed to come back on the console though?
Yeah, I'm expecting it down here too, but.
on? Can you go back to your postman real quick? So I've been trying to copy down the object that you
Oh, I
sent.
did get.
I was just gonna say, I think you did get.
That's why I got the empty array, because there's no posts. There's no geek outs.
Okay.
Switch that to post quick. Hey, at least the get request works. What did you need, Matt?
Oh, just want to see the format of the JSON that you're sending. Okay, then title and then content. Got it.
Yep. The order shouldn't matter, but yeah. Again, you guys can keep this shorter if I type too fast. You guys, you can do shorter title, shorter content. Don't have to do exactly what I do for this kind of stuff here. These need to be exact, but the content inside doesn't need to be exact. So you can just do 2 letters, 1 or 2 letters just to make sure it works. Part of what I need to do is keep this entertaining.
Okay.
Ready?
I think so, yeah.
Send again.
What you know?
Why is ID null?
ID developer is 1 though.
No, yeah, the ID is fine. It's just
Yeah.
nothing else.
Oh, right, that's right, that's right. That's
No,
right. Yeah, we didn't, because we didn't actually save it yet, but no, we did get the right ID number here. So you just sent back what we got. So this is actually what we were expecting, sorry. 'Cause yeah, we didn't send null, we didn't send an ID, we didn't send any of this information to the developer. We just sent the ID, title, and content. So now the question is, if we save this, is it going to be able to get all this information as well and like pull that developer? And of course, get the auto ID. So now let's go ahead and try saving it. Or is it going to yell us saying, I don't have enough information?
Did it actually come back in the console, or that console was what you had in Postman?
No, if you look in the terminal that's running, you'll have the ID number of the
There's 1
Oh,
right at the bottom.
yeah, it says 1 right down there.
Yeah. Oh, right, yeah, down here, there it is.
Yep.
Oh, there it is. Okay, all right.
Yeah, when you do a sys out through here,
Also,
it
I
shows
wanted to
up
change
down
this.
there.
I wanted this one, this controller to be all request bodies or, yeah, I'm sorry, response entities. So
No, I'm sorry, what does that do again?
it allows us to, wait, what is it again?
Response body.
No, it's entity, wasn't it?
Well, there's no at.
Yeah, response entity, no at.
Oh, right, it's a class, right.
Right. Okay. Didn't know what you were trying to do.
And then we're gonna give it a geek out.
And we're gonna
Right?
return that item, the iteratable geek out. And here we're just gonna do new response entity. Comma, HTTP status.
Oh,
Okay,
The response entity just allows you to do the HTTP status.
yep.
Okay,
So I will say though, in the,
Last
this
class-
one, this one's less necessary because you want the D, you're never gonna not do an okay status.
yeah,
So in get mapping, very unnecessary to do. I want one of these to be all response entities, so you can see the difference between one that does all response entities and one that does a mix. All right. So yes, in the get all, you really don't need it because there's never a chance that you will get a non-okay. Only gonna send back okay, even if we send an empty array. So in this one, it's unnecessary, but again, I wanted to just show it on each one. So here again, same thing. Response entity. This one we do want it because why? We're not going to send back okays. We're going to send back what on a post?
Created
Yeah, created, right? What is that number again? Does anyone remember?
201.
Beautiful. So here I'm going to do return new response entity repository dot save the new geek out that we have. And I'm going to do HTTP status not created.
now, the, doing the find all, you said, get, the first one there, the get all.
Yep.
Yeah, like first get mapping. That's still okay, because if this is, say we're just doing this on the internet, say I'm just like, you're, like I'm trying to access this server on your computer, I'm trying to go to your computer for this.
Yeah.
If your laptop is shut off and I can't access that, then it's gonna come back as an error. It's not gonna come back as an okay.
Like I said, that'll
I can't
JP will
get
handle that though. JP would handle that automatically.
Yeah,
So as long as we hit this line, it's always going to be okay.
Oh,
This
okay.
should never fail. That's the concept.
I know.
This
just
find all should not fail. So, and if it does, JPA automatically will just crash and just send back the server, and you'll get back a server did not connect.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's not a worry.
Oh, okay.
That's why this one you could get away with not doing the response entity because there's never a situation we're going to find all and not do an okay status. This one, we are going to have that difference. We want to be able to do created, and we can't, there's no way to automatically have it send back created. So we have to use this to be able to get that. In the get one, we can have a 404. So that's why we want the response entity in the get one, because we either going to send okay or not found, right? Yeah, that. And then we have the or throw. So we don't necessarily need it, but yeah. We can do that if we want to send something other than just the 404. We want to send back a message or a string alongside it as well. Anyway, got that. All right. Do HTTP status created. Good. Let's see what this does now. We're going to reboot the server. Started. Nice.
Yeah, that's
Back this
fine.
way. Let's hit send again.
Oh, it does.
8. So it did save it, but we do see here there's nothing else here. But let's go back to our get now and hit send. Let's see what we get. Oh, did a good look at that.
Wow.
Oh, I missed having you around, Matt. The most vocal of like the stuff that works. I love it. That could also just be a bunch of others are muted though. For all we know, they're more vocal than, but we just don't know it. Thanks, Keith.
I let out a big cuss word, but
F yeah. Every single time it works, we have a sensor bleed going off for Travis. So yeah, that actually was much better than what I'm gonna do. I was like, we're gonna go do a find on it, but we can do that later. But anyway. Nice. Okay, cool. So that actually worked. My notes not show that. Anyway, all good. Yeah. This works great. Yeah, we have the geek out. We can put the ID in it because we have that perfect mapping there. Yes, when it comes in, it sees it as just ID with all the rest null. But as soon as it saves it, we have that join command that then joins the data together. Again, all the geek out table needs is that. And so now I'm going to do a little fun thing. You guys aren't going to need to do this because it's going to take a little time to get it going. But again, I really got to save that to my system. But this. That. Go tables first. So you can see the tables that we have. Gotta do that semicolon. So do this bigger a bit. There you go. So you see we have developer and geek out. Do select star just means select all. Now this is what that list looks like in our system. So it's hashed. So just be aware of that. That's what I kind of didn't think of that ahead of time before doing this. I'm a little annoyed that I did that, but fine.
I already did that, didn't it? Or GPA made those?
JPA makes them, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
And it's partially because we did a list array. So I'm probably going to end up deleting this. I'm going to show you guys how we're going to clear this table out at some point so we can change languages to another entity. Thing is, I'm wondering if I can switch it without having to do that. I think I have to drop them though.
Because in reality, you should be able to use this field to get all the languages and be able to display it on from
Yeah.
the front end.
Yeah. Well, let's do select star from. Don't like that it's not caps. I wanted to show you guys good syntax. It'll work without the caps, but this is just kind of how common SQL is written. You can see the developer ID there.
Oh.
That's what's connecting the two.
Interesting, it's ID 8, not ID 1.
I do notice, and I have to double check on that setting because it's the auto generating is being shared between both tables.
I noticed that. It was kind of
There's a-
irritating.
Yeah, there's a flag that I forgot to put in. I got to double check what that is again. I got to check my notes. I just noticed that today too. I'm like, oh, right, I forgot something in the stupid generated value. But I got to double check on that again. Yeah, there's a setting or a flag or something that I got to set that I just forgot about.
Oh, I've seen that. I
Yeah,
had
saw
I
it
had it
online, too.
autofill that annotation before, and there was a bunch of stuff that came in with it. I was like, that's odd.
Yeah, I totally forgot about it, but I'm gonna go double check it and we'll add that tomorrow.
Cool.
Yeah, that's in there. And then another thing you can do, and so for example, one of the things we're gonna do is select star. This doesn't really work because we only have one right now, but yeah, there. Developer E. And that would show us only the geekouts that Jim posted. And this is what our JPA repository is going to do later on. We do a find by developer ID or find by developer.
Is
Okay.
the ID 8, that's the ID for the content
out.
posted, right?
Yeah, the geek
Okay.
out. Yeah, because we forgot some flags on the auto generate thing that says to keep the two separate, because right now the two tables are sharing the same auto generator index. So the next geek will be ID 9 and the next post will be ID 10, so far,
Yeah,
so far.
I
depending on
saw
what you
that.
want it. So I forgot something, but I wanted to keep, again, that was me just keeping things simple in the beginning. I didn't want to add too many things on top of this as we're getting in the beginning. So I'm going to add that tomorrow because I forgot that this is going to annoy you guys in this project. Seeing the two things share ID numbers. So we're going to be changing that up when I get the next chance. And very soon, actually, we're going to do a drop of our database, a reset on it, so we can use the new language entity when we get to that. So when languages come into play, we will be dropping all the tables again. So we're going to be cleaning them out. So we'll drop the tables, recreate them once we create the language entity. Sound good? Yeah,
Yep.
'cause I also want to get rid of this thing because it's just gross looking. Because you can see here, what's really interesting actually is the fact that developer has no column for, I'll do this quick. Yeah, no, I can't do it. I can't remember. I would have to double check my SQL knowledge. I feel like there's a way to drop to select all but a column, but I don't know. I don't remember the syntax for that. It's one of those ones you don't commonly use. There's like a select all, not this, but yeah. I have to double check the syntax for that, and then I'll do that. It's already at 9:30. So there's no
Can't do
homework
the
tonight.
not equals.
I don't
Are you
think it
trying
does
to-
select?
Are you trying to insert or update or
No,
delete?
I want to
What are
do
you trying-
select all star but languages or star not languages. So I want to do everything but the language column. I don't want this column. I want everything but that column because I want to showcase that there is no geek out column or geek out list. That even though our JPA shows a list of geek outs. The table doesn't have that. I don't know if anyone sees that. The table does not show that. Yet right now, if I go back to our application and I switch over to developers and I get developer 1, which we know is Jim, and I hit send. Oh, right now it doesn't do that right away. Sorry. It doesn't add it because it's not part of the object per se. So I would need to add that I want it. Unless, you know what? Do I need the setter and getter? I'm going to double check on that tomorrow because I wasn't ready for that today. But my notes should show it. If I want to have it show on this, I think I do need the setter and get. I think I needed the getter though.
You
If I want it
do,
to show here.
so, Cliff,
Yeah.
type in select star accept
That's it. Accept.
a column name from table.
Thank you. That was the term. Accept. So I could not remember. Like I know I can do it. I just can't remember. Yeah.
Oh, I guess that didn't work.
That's SQL or
might-
MySQL?
Do you have to do the from developer after the star?
No, that's probably just from SQL. So MySQL is a little bit different from that, huh?
Could be. This is MySQL. Don't forget.
Yeah.
You try it though. Okay, I'll look it up later. But that term accept does sound familiar to me.
Huh.
I'm sure there's a way. But again, my main point is there is no table or column for all the developers because again, it's a join system. We're getting that information by joining on the developer ID. And I wasn't prepping the script today right now, so I'm not going to try to do another join.
That's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, so I'm glad you guys don't have to deal with this because trying to remember this stuff is a pain in the ass. Trying to remember the syntax. It's like, how do I do it
Another
again?
one was select column 1, 2, 3. Just select all the columns you want to view from the table, and it should work also from MySQL. But that's a pain in the butt if you have like a bunch of fields to type in.
Yeah.
Not quite there. I'm trying to remember it again. Close, but I'm not getting it. I'll have to remember it. Yep, I'm trying to remember my joins, and I'm like, it's just not coming today because I did practice for it today. So I don't do a lot of SQL because I tend to use a lot of just the packages. Even with my MongoDB, I know Mongoose, so I don't write a lot of SQL script a lot of times. I tend to just use the packages, so I'm very bleh when I'm doing it off the cuff. I have to look it up. So I'm already at 9:30, so I'm not going to do it right now. Otherwise, I would gladly look it up right now. But
What are you trying to do again?
Might have to
I'm
use
trying to remember
parentheses
the
after.
join.
Might
I'm
have
trying
to
to
use.
remember my join command. Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying you might have to use parentheses after accept.
I don't care about that anymore. I'm not worrying about that one right now. I'm trying to do the join so you can see how we can connect content and title to Jim because he wrote it. Second, I'm going to do a quick search on just a quick example to do a memory refresh. If that works, we'll do it. If not, we'll do it tomorrow.
Well, the reason why you're doing a left join, right? So geek out, it should be developer on the left side of that because you're basing it off of
Well, I
developer.
was
ID.
testing. Yeah, I was testing left join, but I'm not sure if that was what I actually wanted. I think I wanted
Okay.
an inner join though. No, actually, no, that's what I want. Inner join. God dang it. I only want the data that's combined between the two. No, still doesn't do it what I want. Developer ID. Why does it say that everyone has one? It doesn't. Inner join that on. Oh. So on roles.
Yep, that's gonna work.
That's it. There it is. Ah. No, let's add one last one. Who wants to make a post quick? One last post. Someone that's in my system, by the way. So Jim, Travis, Matt, Sergio, or Jeremy, who's posting?
I'll do it.
Thanks, Travis. Let's say, don't ever just jump. So Travis, you are number 2, of course, 1 and 2. Cool. What's your post? Title.
Coding is fun.
Thank you. He's a bot now.
Content, that was a lie.
Go for it, Travis. What's your content? When it works.
Go career devs.
Checks in the mail. Let's send. I don't know why it just show. Oh, right, I did get post. Yeah. Then there it goes. Now we get to see both posts. There they are. There are Travis's and Jim's. We'll come back. We'll do that same exact comment. We see there is both posters. We have Jim right there with his content and title, his name, and then we have Travis in the second one showing his content and title. And so that's how we can run a search on all those users and pull the user from the posts. So this is the SQL version of that. But again, we're going to make it a little easier on ourselves through using JPA. Because I mean, to write this is annoying. JPA repository will make this a lot nicer. Sound good? Again, only homework tonight. Come up with your, hold on, let's do this quick. Exit. There we go. Only homework for tonight is to do your entity mapping, the relationship mapping for those 4 requests, for those 4 types of matching. Like I said, you shouldn't need any more than a total of 5 entities in order to be able to cover everything. If you can do it with less, that's fine. And if you want to do something that has a little more complex stuff, you can definitely add those. I'm not sure if we're going to get into building the like system out necessarily. We might, depending on how quick we can get through some stuff. Again, what you guys come up with, we'll do together. We'll review them all, then we'll come up with a finalized version of what the car rental app will be. And that'll be what I use to base on your homework. So we'll create another, we'll be able to finish up some of these routes for this one, and then we'll be able to give the homework out while we do a second entity. And then I'll be able to give you guys homework for hopefully two relationships for the weekend, because we have a nice long weekend coming up. All right.
I could do my homework in with 1 entity, Alex.
I will deny that. I geeked out. Thanks, Colin.
R.I.P. R.I.P.
Yeah. All good, everybody?
So we have
All
to
good.
use one of every
Relationship, yep.
mapping.
What's that?
You have to use one of every mapping.
That's the goal, yep. On all the mappings. So, and just really, again, mainly thing here is just to have fun and be creative, think of things. And even if you're not 100% confident in the relationship, put it in there so we can then discuss it though. Don't worry about having an incorrect relationship on there. You guys are not familiar with database relationship, how data relates to each other. So take your best educated guess on what you think would be useful in a car rental app. And then during the discussion, during your presentation, we can discuss and help you to see either how it does work or how it maybe works better by a slight adjustment, what the relationship actually is. The purpose of this is to practice to try to see how much can you understand, can you glean under just deductive reasoning and logical and logical reasoning. Yeah, both deductive reasoning and logical reasoning. Can you figure out the relationships? And the goal is for you to learn from them. If everyone here got the relationship maps perfect, that's awesome. But at the same time, kind of wasting my breath then sometimes. So I'm expecting some of you to not get these perfect. And that's kind of the point so that we can then review and help you to learn and see how you can better understand the relationships. By having you guys bring up incorrect relationships, I can help you guys to understand better how the relationships actually are. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So 100%, don't be afraid like, oh, these relationships are stupid. They don't make sense. I can't understand them right. I don't know if I can fully explain it right. That's fine. Put what you think is the best thing that is what you think it is, and we can review and discuss and make sure it makes sense what the relationship actually is or how the relationship you came up with is correct. And honestly, if you were just to create me like, I know these two items are connected, I just don't know how, and I put a blank line with no arrows, fine. But I will be asking you, what is your hypothesis? Expect that question, of course. Main thing here, have fun with it, experiment with it, try with it, and come up with your hypothesis. Sound good? Theories are key. Be computer scientists, not just script kiddies. All right.
Remember to upload that to your repository.
What? They add that to my poster?
No,
Push the code to your repository.
Oh, right. That's not at all what I heard.
Got like motivational posters, Cliff.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is he talking about posters?
Low energy,
Hang in there,
Oh.
kitty.
low battery.
Hang in there, script kitty.
Classic. Yeah.
We'll just put hang in there, script kitty. I'm gonna do.
I got that in my room.
One-to-many relationship. We'll call this one. Yeah. Hit, push, and it's out. Uploaded. All right. Like I said, though, there's no actual coding homework, so there's nothing going to be in the classroom. So just work on that on that mapping, though. That way we can have a good homework for tomorrow for the weekend. Sound good?
Mhm.
And no matter what, I will be creating a mapping. If you guys are like, oh, if we don't create mappings, there's no homework. No, there will be. It'll just be my idea, not yours. So involve yourself because I want this thing to be enjoyable, guys. I want you to feel like you're partially included in what is being created here. So
Sure.
Any questions or anything?
Nope.
All right. Everyone have a good time dying tonight when you go to sleep, and I'll see you all tomorrow with your fresh new lives.
Awesome.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah.
Nobody have an existential crisis, please. I don't need that.
Too late.